What's up, everybody? So, hey, Melania Trump just came out with her thing denying all things Epstein, even though there's a photo of Donald and Melania and Jeffrey and Ghislaine, and Melania's basically got her rear end parked right next to Epstein, where he fully may well be copping a handful or whatever. I don't want to be too crude about it. I'm about 40,000 pages into my thing. I said 217 pounds, no eating. I shouldn't even bring that up, but 217 pounds trying to eat nothing but other than chicken and fish and veggies. I'm actually at 219 and have eaten some raisin bran and other stuff. So stuff that's not exactly in there. I've gained 2 pounds. Anyways, the 40,000 pages or 40,000 words out of an 80,000 word book. I've got 40,000 words written and I'm still barely getting through the initial part of my childhood. So this might be a little bit longer. You know, what is it with Melania entering the podium that way down a long corridor? Do these people all think they're like royalty or something, man? You know, I gotta say. And then just a couple other thoughts. You know, I think that it's ironic that Peter Thiel has backed Facebook. Peter Thiel backs 600 mile an hour drones. Peter Thiel backs Palantir along with Alex Karp, even though Peter Thiel is supposedly conservative, but Alex Karp, the other CEO of Palantir, is a total admitted socialist, and that everybody and their mother is taking money from AIPAC. And then on top of it, you know, what if the Easter tweet by Donald Trump wasn't even an accident? What if they used that because Donald Trump wants Peter Thiel to have control by getting getting Peter Thiel back to Vance, who had all of his political career funded by Peter Thiel, in office with a Peter Thiel worked. Everything looks like it's a technocrat thing, you know. I made a longer version of this video, but I'm going to get rid of it because I was asking some other things about Congress and the Second Amendment and alter or abolish per the Declaration of Independence. But I'm not even going to go there because really, that's not even the fight that we need to be having either. We need to be having a discussion amongst ourselves about whether or not you really do support what's in the Constitution, and it's clear that people don't. Whether or not you support Christian values, which is letting people come to this country, even though they might not have a political voice, giving them a work visa to where they can feed their families and not starve and not be homeless. That's Christian. Christian values like not letting BlackRock and Vanguard buy up all the residential properties in this country so people can have home ownership. Used to be that one salary, someone that would get out and go work a normal manual labor job, could have a family, a wife, and leave the wife at home with the children. But we've gotten away from all that. And some people think that this is a good idea. The enemies aren't politicians of Democratic or Republican flavor. The enemies aren't people with different skin, whether it's white, whether it's black, or whether it's Latino, because or Oriental. People like to demonize all of us. We all have our haters. The enemy are the billionaires that have doubled or tripled their wealth since COVID. I don't even know what it's on right now. That are just raking money into the bank by raking you over the coals. And the technocracy that's coming in, you know, and I don't think artificial intelligence and the singularity, I made a video about this too. I don't think I posted it. But basically, when you're writing a program, the program has to operate within the parameters that you set as the programmer. And so you not being able to transmit something you haven't got means I don't think that artificial intelligence really is capable of becoming more intelligent than the smartest amongst us in mankind. I don't think that that's the immediate problem. And to be super honest, I'm not even enrolled. The new semester started today on the 9th, but I didn't get into it because I still have more courses. I'm paying for my school as I go along, so I still owe a little bit of money on that, and I'm going to get it. I don't want anybody to send me a penny. I'm just being upfront. But I do go to school for computer science and trying to get a degree in law, and so I know quite a bit about different programming languages and whatnot. And I don't think that artificial intelligence is capable of being smarter than the bulk of mankind. But I do think that it is much better than we are executing several different commands at once and recognizing patterns. So there is that. But that's just because of the amount of processors that it has behind it and the data centers. Well, actually, Casey the car guy has been talking a lot about that. But just getting back to Melania coming up with her time statement, releasing that today, walking into the podium through a corridor like she's some type of American royalty. We need to get away from that. Our enemy is ourselves. Our enemy is our lack of humanity for other people. Our enemy is our inability to recognize the humanity in everybody on this earth, and our enemy is our inability to agree on common core principles like, should you be stacking 3 Tomahawk missiles on top of little girls of any color with a Hello Kitty backpack? And should any Justice Department, if you can even call it that, be supported by anybody, including every worker therein, if they are not willing to arrest people that defile the most innocent and vulnerable amongst us? And I'm going with a hard, fast no on both of those guys. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't been going to my black people church, man. And I've been praying every day that they get a new pastor. And I really like that church. But my wife told me that I need to let them have their own place. And I really like the music there. And I'm only saying it that way, black people church, because it is a primarily African-American church. And I do like going there for the organ music. But I probably should let them have their own space. But it doesn't mean that I don't view them as less than human, because they're definitely not, man. They're smart. They're kind. I stood up in front of all of the entire congregation just 3 weeks ago, and I saw a lot of people that are like really kind, man. And when I went to Mexico, I saw a lot of people that treated me really kindly. And yeah, there was some racism that was directed my way that wasn't positive. And actually, that was easier to deal with than people treating me better than they should have just because I was white. Real stuff. Went to a barbecue yesterday, man. My wife's coworker. And her son was a gang member. He came in drunk and he was starting his stuff. Man, I really wanted to put the smack down on that dude. And he kind of deserved it too. But I didn't want to embarrass my wife, embarrass my wife's coworker or myself. But along those lines, I need to get up to the scrapyard and go get in a fight and do man stuff. There's so many people that say so many things online and they don't back any of it up with action. I talked about that. Let me go in my office right here. I talked about that a little bit the other day on Julian's podcast, man. A lot of people are about talk and not action. Yes, I do weigh 219 pounds right now when I did weigh 217 with the goal that I'm doing. And I have cut down all of the fried food. But I've had a couple sausage McMuffins and I have been eating Raisin Bran. As a result, I'm 219 pounds. I said I was going to start writing a book. I'm 40,000 words into that book and I'm just getting through my childhood. So the book's probably going to be 160,000 words. And I'm doing this as a direct challenge to all of the cartel grifter garbage that has slowed down since I've been doing my videos over the last year and a half. And they're going to continue to slow down because I'm going to continue challenging every single damn claim. And a lot of them do necessarily use anonymous sources at times. But not every source should be an anonymous source. And when these people have the entirety of every program that they put out on YouTube with balaclavas or pasamontañas, as you would say in Spanish. And when these people, after 10 or 15 or 20 years in public light since they started their career, won't give you their first and last second name, or their first and second last names, you know, they probably shouldn't be believed. And so I need to put out a book, and even though it's probably not going to be a bestseller, even though it's going to be embarrassing at some points, and it's revealing about Dave, at least you know I'm willing to put myself out there in a negative light, in a light that's not favorable, so you can have a little bit of context about what I'm about, and knowing that I'm willing to tell the truth about myself. Because a lot of these people will sit there and act like they should be believed on every other thing, and they'll cover up every tweet that they had before 2025, or won't let you know what their first and second last names are, which calls into question their integrity on everything, because they can't even be honest about themselves. They cover things up. So I'm doing this, and then plus also, if I myself can put this book out, and I am 40,000 words into it. In fact, I just knocked out like another 6,000 words today. I'm going to knock out some more in a little bit. If I can do it, why haven't they? There's that. I've been calling out Sean Ryan and Vince Vargas for close quarter battle CQB with rubber bullets, and I've been talking the amount of smack I've been talking for the last year and a half. No defamation lawsuits, because I'm not making any of it up. Nobody over at Ironclad wants to talk to me, because I'll call in to question and fact check all their BS in real time. They don't want anything to do with me. Tommy G will talk to Julian Dory and Mark Gagnon, but won't get back to me directly. We'll sit there and do one-arm push-ups in a jail in front of another guy that's locked up. And Tommy G, NCAA wrestler apparently, good shape, respect for him for that. I wrestled too, but won't explain how, hey Tommy, if you hear this, how is someone that moves cocaine or methamphetamines across the border 2 ounces at a time with a female mule, selling it for $40 at a crack down in the corner parking lot, cartel level distribution? All these crazy claims these guys make. And then all the hitmen out there. You know, I just got done sitting right there yesterday wondering if this dude was going to shoot me or stab me right in front of my wife and his mom. And he's kind of that way. And he's an LA gang member too, man. I'm not going to get into which branch, but definitely for real. And we're having this conversation, and he was drunk. So drunk that he didn't remember it. It probably would have been really easy to win. So as a result of that, I need to get up to the scrapyard and go get into a fight to make sure I continue pushing myself, not being immature, nothing emotional, just making sure that I stay on top of things and do things, not in an emotional sense, but very objectively, with methodology. Keep going. I'm still going on my Gephi bubble graphs and my SQL database and all my tables, and just stay on top of these things. I started this channel wanting to make sure you guys were told the truth. I started the channel wanting to verify whether or not Ed Calderon at any point in time was Baja California State Police. He did enter. I don't know when he left. Which means that just because we validated that, we haven't validated the rest of what he stated. Not that I'm calling him a liar. I'm not. I am saying that I do find it interesting that Johnny Mitchell, Julian Dory, and all these other podcasts that do cartel-related stuff will do multiple interviews with other people that have not proved themselves, but don't want to do other interviews with me when I won't play ball and play nice in the pool with the other kids that are swimming in the pool because I'm calling people out on their stuff. Just calls into question their integrity, man. So I need to put out this book. I started this channel doing that. I told you I was going to stop eating all this fried foods and stuff like that. I have done that, but I have not completely cut out the carbohydrates. So as a result, I weigh 219 pounds. I've been in the gym constantly. Told you I was writing a book. I'm 40,000 words into that. My wife told me not to even tell you guys. But I want to tell you guys because when you are playing chess, if you're really good at chess, which means if you really don't have any problem with your opponent seeing your plan, you can tell him, if you're good enough at it, what you're going to do and do it, just like Larry Bird would do on the court. Tell people what he was going to do and do it and drain a three-pointer right in their face. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, but I'm not doing it from an arrogant perspective. I'm doing it from the perspective that principles, good principles, are always good for all people. And I'm telling you that I am being open, vulnerable, forthright with my own story, so you guys can fact check whether or not what I'm telling you is the truth. Because I want you to know that whatever you see on YouTube is also truthful, to the extent that we can know that. Right now, we don't even know if we were in Iran at all, other than something that other people would say or substantiate firsthand with on-the-ground intelligence, human intelligence, or SIGINTEL. But even SIGINTEL, signal intelligence, can be manipulated. We don't know that we were in Iran or not in Iran trying to get their uranium, not trying to get their uranium, actually rescuing a pilot, not rescuing a pilot. But I think that we can agree that blowing up bridges, killing little kids, blowing up hospitals or desalination plants or any of that is a bad thing. Why? Because you wouldn't want it done to you. You don't even have to be Christian or even believe in a higher being to acknowledge that we should probably treat other people the way that we want to be treated. Leaving the sociopaths and the sadistic people out of that, because they can go conduct war and kill themselves, which means Barron Trump shouldn't be going. Donald Trump and the rest of the warmongers should be sent to go fight the war that they want to wage. Getting back to J.D. Vance, I don't know that this whole Donald Trump thing isn't another bit of kabuki theater. People are always Republican, Democrats. There's people of both parties down there on those islands. Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, Pam Bondi, all Democrats for way over 10 years. So, yeah, they switch parties or whatever. Kamala Harris, getting money from the same people those people are getting money from. Go look it up. There needs to be some clarity. You know, American politicians should represent Americans only. Only. People that want to come here and be able to eat should be able to get work visas and come here and eat. American politicians and businessmen should not be selling out the American working class by doing nothing but printing off one H-1 visa after another. Also wrong. BlackRock again and Vanguard should not be buying up all of the properties. The Airbnb, who put the seed money in that? I mean, there's so many things where you're being sold out and sold short, regardless of what color you are, regardless of what language you speak. All of these billionaires and technocrats and the politicians think that they're royalty, so much so that Melania Trump herself on national TV or national news comes walking down a corridor with nothing but glaring theatrics, not unlike her stupid movie that I watched where she comes down a golden-crusted staircase 3 times repeatedly in a dress that she's been fitted for 3 times to make sure that she looks great at the inauguration, which has got the likes of Dana White, Joe Rogan, Patrick Bet-David, or whatever his name is, and all these other people that view themselves as American royalty, man. You know what? Do you know why I never ask you guys to like and subscribe my videos? You want to know why? Because I'm not that important, man. And neither are you. And neither is anyone else. But collectively and individually, we are important, but in the sense of being human beings and in the sense of having a common say. And so I never ask you to like and subscribe my videos, because if I just get one other person out there to think, you know what, maybe Dave's right, maybe I should consider that. I never tell you what to think. I want you to think for yourself. I don't tell you Donald Trump's a piece of shit. I don't tell you that. And I don't tell you Kamala Harris is a piece of garbage lawyer that refused, even though this is true, she refused to admit exculpatory evidence, not to free someone, liberate someone from prison, but just to get them off a death row. The guy would still be locked up. She's betraying her own principles. And Kamala loves AIPAC money, the same as Donald does, for Miriam Adelson. They all got this in common, man. So we don't have a fight against the politicians. We don't have a fight against people like Ilhan Omar or Barack Obama or Donald Trump or George Bush or anybody else. We have a fight with what we allow to go on in our country because we are divided and not united in common principles that benefit all of us. And I'm not talking about turning this into a socialist utopia where we have to worry about whether the Khmer Rouge want to come in and kill all the older people because we can't work as fast as the younger people. And I'm not talking about a capitalist system that enables people to win the game so many times over that the billionaires have so much money that young 18-year-olds will never own a home because they have to, even though they're working 3 jobs and sleeping in their truck to pay rent. They have sleeping stalls in San Francisco that you can rent for $700 a month. And these are the society, this is the society that the experts are giving us. Getting back to chess, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing because good principles don't need to be hidden. I'm not doing this channel for money. I'm not doing this channel for clout. I worked for a long time in Mexico alone, putting my stupid little photos up on Facebook for my friends and my family to see without having any YouTube channel that I'm putting all my work stuff on. And not telling you that I'm Delta Force, tip of the spear. Yeah, we did some crazy stuff in Mexico for sure. You learn a lot of stuff. You see a lot of stuff. But not trying to be Sean Ryan or Vince Vargas or any of that, man. Definitely not. I didn't do that until I saw Ed Calderon start talking to Dan Crenshaw and start thinking that these people that don't even vet themselves publicly in an open way, Vince Rocco Vargas, at least he put out a book. When you're going to school, you learn that you have to cite stuff. These days, you have to cite websites, but the best thing to cite are always books and microfiche and other records that are printed that have a hard physical copy that you can go and reference a century later, which is why I'm doing this book. So chess and principles, good principles, I don't need to hide who I am. I don't need to hide my tooth. This is my office. These are my stupid little guitars. My circus parade thing that I bought my wife. My Line 6 Bogner tube amp, which doesn't work that much. I should replace the volume switch on it. My QIDI Queedy 4 printer that I print stuff on. Like that stuff up there. This is me, and I'm just a real human just like you are. And I'm saying that Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, all of the ruling billionaire class. You know, I was listening to one last thing. I'll say this and I'll shut up, right? Let's see what time it is. 4:20 in the afternoon. There was Doge, right? Remember that? And now Casey, the car guy that I like, he's running against Vivek Ramaswamy for governor. Ramaswamy's another biotech billionaire that's coming in to swoop up all this government power. You know, I don't like people coming here from outside this country taking over our politics, and I don't think that you do either. Even if you're Latino or black or whatever, man. We were born here. And people that are born here, as long as they're born here, I think that they ought to have a right to do it. But people that come from outside, I don't think they should have anything to do with our politics. Why should the people born here have something to do with it as long as their parents were legal citizens? Because they don't get to pick and choose some other place to be born. And this is their home. Wherever you're born is your home, whether people like it or not, you know. Unless their parents came here illegally. And I don't want to get into the entire migration, 4 or 5 waves of Native American migration from Asia, because we can go back far enough in time. Without getting too far off point, I think that we need to treat people a little bit more humanely than we have here. If they're not here legally, they should be able to get a work visa and be able to make a living and feed themselves. That's a kind thing to do. I'll leave Christian thing out of it, and we'll just put kind in there. That is the kind thing to do. That is the grace that I think any one of us would want to be treated with. What if we were born or put in another country and all we wanted to do was feed ourselves and make enough money to be able to rent a place to sleep at night and have our basic human necessities met? That's treating people with dignity, man. I talk a lot of crazy stuff, you know. I'm not afraid at all to get into it with the Golden Tribe or telling people that foreign actors of a certain religious bent, not saying that they can't practice that religion personally, but that a nation that has that as its national religion cannot be buying our politicians. At the same time, I don't like Ilhan Omar coming over here. And I've lived in Minneapolis for a little bit. Don't like it being swarmed over by people that vote a certain way. Definitely not. I don't like woke people taking Christian couples to court because the Christian couple decided they weren't going to make a cake. You can get a cake somewhere else. But I also don't want that lesbian couple being told that they can't sit there and do what they call marriage and leave their personal belongings to each other because they're in love and love whoever they want to love. There are a lot of things that are out there, and you watch all these things that are said and talked about on social media where people are just openly cruel and openly betray the very principles that they claim to defend. You know, the cop that hit the guy in the head with the cooler and killed him, wants to hold everybody else accountable, but then you have 11,000 police officers being like, well, this guy shouldn't be held accountable when he's found guilty in a court of law, man. So, I'm being open and upfront about my principles and about what I'm doing and about writing a book so people can fact check me. They can have something hard and tangible. People want to buy my book, they can buy it. If they want to read it on Kindle for $1, they can do that. I'm not going to get rich off of 1,000 copies. Even at $1 a copy per Kindle, it's not out. I'm not even there yet. But I am doing what I told you I would do. You know, I've interviewed a lot of the same people that these people will go behind. Not a lot, but a few. I've got something coming up with Goosegree. He's a Mexican podcast guy that's got a bigger audience than Sean Ryan. I've talked to him. And he's in Mexico and in the United States. And I've got something going on with that. And I'm going to make sure that you guys aren't sold a locket and a lie on YouTube just so other people can sell products. You know, I could sit here and try to monetize my channel. There are things I could do to make my website a little bit better, where I put all the podcasts that I've been on and turn this into more of a business, train people in CQB and other stuff, do self-defense classes, whatever, man. And I don't do any of that because I like who I am as a person. I like my life the way that it is. My wife and I got a great marriage. I love who I'm married to. And I'm basically happy with where I'm at in life. And I don't need a ton of money. I would like to have a couple A-frame cabins for myself and my friend to retire in. But, you know, I'm working on that too. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. You know, think about some of the stuff that I said today. You know, I don't know. Oh, we said we were going to close with this. Donald Trump and Doge. Did you get your check? Where's Elon Musk at? Are the Epstein files released? No, they're not. Are the Department of Justice and FBI playing patty cake with their little redaction marker? Yes, they are. Pam Bondi in court? No, she's not. Files on my desk, not on my desk, on my desk. Dan Bongino, we're going to release all of it. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, we're not going to release all of it. Kash Patel related to Marissa Stride over at Prager. Everything's a psyop, dude. Everything's BS. So I might not have the highest quality channel on Facebook or on YouTube. My book might leave something to be desired, but it's genuine and it's authentic, unlike our very own government. Trump, we're not going to have any more wars. They go and bomb someone that hadn't bombed us. And then plus, this is the other thing I wanted to touch on about the chess. You know, you'll have people that will sit there and look at a few moves. When you play chess, you learn to look, when you learn to play chess at an advanced level, you learn to look 3 to 5 moves ahead. Some people like Magnus Carlsen and other masters have got that stuff down to 25 moves ahead and stuff like that. I'm not that good. Typically, I'll be 5, 6, 7 moves ahead and look at all the different lines. Look at checking people to where you got to force their stuff. Look at attacking people, pinning pieces, this type of stuff to where you can force or prohibit moves. And you learn to apply the same thing at life. And so looking at this stuff and the timing of Melania and her theatrical addressing the entire country or world, not with Donald Trump at her side, even though there are plenty of photos of that. I'm not even going to upload the photos. I'm just going to upload this video, okay? And then knowing who's backing who, and J.D. Vance and his eyeliner, and Peter Thiel behind all of them, and the billionaires behind all of them. The best way to fight this isn't with the Second Amendment. The best way to fight this is by having united principles that we should all treat each other kindly and should not be ruled by overlords that care only about money. And that money that they've accumulated since COVID, have you seen more or less homeless people? Have you seen more or less drug-addicted people? Have you seen more or less suffering on a global level? These people are laughing all the way to the bank, but they don't care for you. They care for themselves and their gold-encrusted staircases and their triple-fitted gowns, and they're walking down a large corridor to come up to a podium where you can barely hear them. And they care about their Bentleys. They care about their Learjets. They care about owning multiple properties. In the case of BlackRock or Blackstreet and Vanguard and all these other people, State Street, BlackRock, whatever. You know what I mean? They don't care about you. They care about themselves and their own well-being in their own bunkers. And these are not the people that should be leading us. But we can't get there until we come together as a people. So, you know, that's enough out of me today. Just kicking around. We don't know that we weren't in Iran stealing their uranium. Billionaires want to catalog and inventory every single natural resource. Why? Not because they care about the world, but so they can divvy it up amongst themselves, just like Nestle wanting to buy all the fresh water. And these people, if they could buy all the oxygen in the world with their little Palantir database and all the money that affords them, they would definitely rent you air 5 minutes at a time to make sure they extracted every last cent that you'll ever earn, turning us into their slaves. That's what it is, man. So, hey, I would think a little bit more critically, to coin the woke term, about treating people unkindly, because you can't treat people the way you treat others is the way that you ultimately treat yourself, because you're okaying that behavior against another human being, which you are. Cheers. Have a good day.